Would you call yourself a pessimist or a optimist?
Well, when asked that, I always appeal to the slogan that Antonio Gramsci made famous. We should have pessimism of the intellect and optimism of the will. There's a lot of things that are wrong. That's what we should concentrate on, trying to make them better. And we should be optimistic about the power to do so, no matter what the obstacles.
Yeah, it almost reminds me of you studied obviously a lot of philosophy. I'm assuming you also studied probably Stoicism with Seneca and Marcus Aurelius and the whole how Stoicism got started. Where prior to it used to be called cynicism, and a couple guys are like, listen, I don't want to be part of this cynicism community. It was a philosophy, and Seneca kind of stepped away and says, I'm just going to go do something else, and then boom, Stoicism got started into what it is today. But it was more of the mindset of I can do something about my life to improve my life. Do you believe the individual has the ability and the control and the responsibility and the ultimate level of accountability to help improve their situation and their lives?
Not just your own life, but to improve the world for all of us.
Sure.
And those are right now the most urgent questions that have ever faced the human species. After all, we might not like to think about it, but we have about a decade or two to answer the question as to whether organized human life will persist on Earth. Nothing less than that. Very stark question.
How certain are you of that? To say a decade or two, that's a pretty extreme statement to say we only have a decade or two.
Why do I say that?
Yeah.
Because it's a fact. If we don't deal with the increase of heating the environment, we will reach tipping points which are irreversible. Doesn't mean everybody's going to die tomorrow, but we'll be off on a course which will be unstoppable and will lead to essentially the end of organized human life on Earth, along with millions of other species which we're destroying at the same time. I can't be certain about this, but there's a very high probability of it. In fact, virtual unanimity among scientists that this is what's going to happen unless we take control within the next few decades.
So to say it's a fact, that's a pretty strong statement to say it's a fact. Fact means like, 100% we're going to be there. And
nothing is 100%.
Okay.
Quantum theory is not 100%. Theory of relativity is not 100%. In the empirical world, you never have certainty.
I'm just saying you said fact. I'm just repeating you said fact. So I think what you're saying, there's a possibility, but not necessarily factual.
Yes, but there's a background understanding since the 17th century that in the world of empirical fact, you never reach certainty. So when we talk about facts, as we do freely, we always mean it with that qualification in the background. We're not going to stop using the word fact. Like, it's a fact that if I take this coffee cup and I let go of it, it's a fact that it'll fall to the ground. So there, in fact, is a very slight possibility that it'll rise to the sky. Okay, happens to be the case. There's a spectrum of possibilities of which the overwhelmingly high probability, so high that there's no need in the practical world to consider anything else, is that it'll fall to the ground. But there does happen to be a very minuscule possibility that it might go to the sky. But when we talk about facts, we have that understanding in the background.
Yeah, I mean, I just never seen anything fall up. And I've lived 42 years. I've had a hard time seeing, I mean, if things would have gone up and I would have jumped a little higher, I would have been in the NBA today. So I'm hoping that was kind of favoring me, but I couldn't jump more than 15 inches. So I could never go into the NBA. So factually, some of this stuff, maybe I got some work to do on.
Actually, there is, not that you would do it, but it's just one of the things that could happen in the universe. So yes,
could happen in the universe, but that's a could. That's not a fact, though. That's a, but to say factually in the next 10 or 20 years, that makes somebody sit there and say, 2 times 2 is 4. That's a fact. 2 times 2 is not going to be 5 tomorrow. There's a possibility to be 5 tomorrow. That puts a lot of fear in some folks who haven't read as much as you have to say. To say the world, we're going in the direction with climate change in 10 or 20 years, that's a scary thought.
No, sorry, that's a misunderstanding.
Sure.
Every empirical fact that you can think of has a possibility of being wrong, whatever it is. That's been understood for centuries. And
that's different. That could be your opinion, my opinion, research, who wrote it.
It's not a matter of opinion. By now, modern physics even explains it in some detail. So it doesn't mean we should stop talking about facts. Of course we should. But we should talk about facts with a recognition, always barely possible, sometimes almost inconceivably small probability that they're wrong. So we continue to talk about facts. So when I say it's a fact that this is going to happen, that means there's an overwhelmingly high probability. And we know the reasons.
I think there's a big difference.
The factors and so on. Yeah. If you want every statement that's ever made to be added to disqualification, okay, I don't think that's a wise policy. We should continue to talk about facts.
Sure. So if you like this little short clip from an interview I did, click over here to watch the entire interview. And please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.